This video is for educational purposes only. Our group is allowing Mr. Roldan Ardines to use this as an educational material. Today we're going to talk about what is global interstate. So for the objectives in this lesson is first to introduce the global interstate. Number 2 is to explain the role of international finance institution in creation of economy. Number 3 is to give out short history of global market integration in the 20th century. Number 4 is to identify the attributes of corporation. And lastly, number 5 is to know what is Bretton Woods system. Before proceeding for the next slide, we're going to have a video showing about the overview of global interstate system.
Global interstate system is the whole system of human interaction. It is a financial institution that extends financial assistance through loans to countries.
So, as the video shown, we could say that the global interstate or the global state is the whole system of human interactions. The modern world system is structured politically as an interstate system, or a system of competing and allying states. In other words, nation-states make up the global system. Every state acts as a single unitary actor, and their activities are explained in terms of global interstate system that administers power distribution. The economic, social, and cultural borders between countries are dissolving and eventually disappearing as a result of globalization. It has endangered a sense of interdependence among nations, as well as an unequal allocation of power across countries of different economic strength. So, what is the purpose of the global interstate system? To contribute to peace and security by promoting international collaboration through educational, scientific, and cultural reforms in order to increase universal respect for justice, for the rule of law, and the human rights along the fundamental freedom. So, what is the importance of global interstate? For the importance of global interstate, we could say that it would sustain the economy and support international competitiveness even as the economy evolved from an industrial era to an information age in a worldwide marketplace. In addition, the interstate system has proven invaluable to the national defense through countless military endeavors.
So, good afternoon everyone. I am here to present about the role of international financial institutions in the creation of global economy. But first, what is international financial institutions? So, international financial institutions, or IFIs, plays a significant role in supporting the private sector in developing countries, encouraging entrepreneurial initiatives that help developing countries achieve sustainable growth. So, international financial institutions are financial institutions that have been used by more than one country. So, these institutions help some countries to be progressive and to sustain the growth in technologies and its development. And the examples of international financial institutions are World Bank, Asian Development Bank, Islamic Development Bank, and the International Monetary Fund. And First, World Bank. The World Bank is an international organization dedicated to providing financing, advice, and research to developing nations to aid their economic advancement. The bank predominantly acts as an organization that attempts to fight poverty by offering developmental assistance in the middle and low income countries. So, World Bank is established on July 1, 1994, and it is consisted by 185 countries including the Philippines, and its largest shareholders are France, Germany, Japan, United Kingdom, and the United States. So, the role of the World Bank is to end the extreme poverty in every country. That's their first role. And second, they want to promote shared prosperity in order to foster or boost the income growth of the society or the country. So, second, Asian Development Bank. So, the Asian Development Bank is a regional development bank established on 19th of December 1962. It is headquartered in the Exhibition Center located in the city of Mandaluyong, but commonly operated. The company organizes 31 trade offices around the world to promote social and economic development in Asia. So, the role of Asian Development Bank is to make loans effective investment in the economic and social affairs of developing member countries. Second, to provide the technical assistance for the preparations of the execution of development projects and programs. Lastly, is to promote investment of private and public capital for the development purposes.
So as continuation, I am Engine Cadet Taylor Emmanuel Bolilan. The Islamic Development Bank. The Islamic Development Bank is a multilateral development finance institution that is focused on Islamic finance located in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. There are 57 shareholding member states with the largest single shareholder being Saudi Arabia. Working to improve the lives of those we serve by promoting social and economic development in member countries and Muslim communities worldwide, delivering impact at scale. To foster the economic development and social progress of member countries, and to participate in equity capital and grant loans for productive projects and enterprises. And lastly, to establish and operate special funds for specific purposes. Next is International Monetary Fund. The International Monetary Fund, or IMF, is formed in 1944, started on 27 December 1945, and it is an organization of 190 countries working to foster global monetary cooperation, secure financial stability, facilitate international trade, promote high employment and sustainable economic growth, and reduce poverty around the world. So, to ensure the stability of the international monetary system, to monitor the economics and the financial policies, and to reduce poverty, and to provide loans to the member countries. So, types of international financial institutions. First is the Bretton Woods institutions, the regional development, the banks, bilateral development banks, and other regional financial institutions.
Global market integration. So, what is the meaning of this, and what is the role or the use of this in our life? So, we must need first to know what is the meaning of market integration. So, market integration occurs when the prices among different locations or related goods are the same or follow the similar pattern in a long period of time. For example, like the prices of milk here is the same, and the prices of the milk in Russia, China, or any part of the world. So this provides us many social benefits. This helps us broaden the financial service, and this gives us a lot of opportunities as being as a consumer. And for the competition, it gives them some services to which of them will give a nice service to customers and who is really have the low price of the marketing they are selling. An infrastructural change of major significance came by in 1869, which is the opening of the Suez Canal, or as we know, which the Evergreen, the largest or one of the largest container ship was ever built, and it was stuck on it and for 6 days. It dug up the whole world or the worldwide shipping and froze nearly $10 billion of trade in a day. So the Suez Canal, which linked the Mediterranean Sea by the Egypt to the Red Sea. So this helps the ships or sailors that from Asia to Europe, because it is shorter of 4,000 miles to Europe, and the transportation or the trading is easier, and the freight cost or the cost of the goods or the products being transferred to any part of the world is now more or less or lesser.
Good day, I'm Engine Cadet Sabillano, and this is the continuation of the presentation of Engine Cadet Mallorca about the history of global market integration in the 20th century. Integration of grain markets at the turn of the century. Within Asia, major effects of market integration were seen, where a market area is fully integrated, prices of a particular commodity will equalize across the area. Transport costs are crucial, and a commodity will only move from one location to another if the cost of production in the place of origin plus the cost of transport is less than the prevailing price for the commodity in the destination. In Asia, the late 19th century saw market integration in one of Asia's key commodities, which is rice. Prices move in the same way in the exporting countries, Burma, French, Indonesia, and Siam. In the Great Redistribution Center, which is the British, Freeport, Singapore, and Hong Kong, and also in the receiving countries, which are India, China, Japan. The transport of information network established in the second half of the 19th century had created an intra-Asian economy in which the income received by rice cultivator was spent on the product of the new manufacturing industries of the region, particularly the cotton yarn and the textile of the factories of Bombay, Shanghai, and Osaka. The two markets interlocked in British India, which both consumed and exported both crops, and now the world price of wheat and rice moved in unison, which means that the income of U.S. farmers and other world wheat producers were influenced by forces such as a monsoon in India. During the 1920s, there was great expansion in the amount of land under wheat and rice in the world at large. Normally, good wheat harvest were offset by poor rice harvest, and good rice harvest were offset by poor wheat harvest. As farm income fell, so the ability of farmers to purchase manufactured goods and this affected manufacturers, contributing to the worldwide Great Depression of the 1930s. As the depression hit, countries increased their tariff duties to keep foreign products out of their markets in order to help their own manufacturers and farmers. In 1932, even Britain, with its deep commitment to free trade, was forced to turn to protectionism and surrender the free trade ideal. Free trade and open market were unfortunate casualties of the Great Depression, and in fact, their breakdown contributed to the slum's prolongation. The restoration of free trade and open markets was one of the primary aims of those planning the operation of the world economy system after the end of world hostilities in 1945. To additional, let's watch this video.
Brief history of global market integration in the 20th century. The international economic integration achieved during the 19th century was largely unraveled in the 20th by two World War and the Great Depression. World War I brought the liberal economic order of the late 19th century to an abrupt end. 1914 clearly marked a dramatic and discontinuous break in the past. Import shares fell only marginally in Britain during the war. In France, the import share rose from 20% before the war to 36.7% during it. Again, exports fell sharply. Export ratios rose in neutral economies such as in Sweden, Japan, and North America, where grain production expanded sharply during the war years to meet Allied demand. The absence of European manufactured exports on world markets stimulated the expansion of industrial capacity, above all in the United States and Japan, but also in countries such as India, Australia, and Latin America. The end of war did not imply an end to protection. Different tariff acts and restrictions are made. The Great Depression was of course a major reason for the adoption of severe protection, and not just in the periphery. Beginning in 1932, there were several signs that at least some countries were trying to moderate, if not reverse, the increase in protectionism of the previous year or two. Post-war economic reintegration was supported by several factors, both technological and political.
So good day everyone, I'm Engine Cadet Bas Januel and I assigned to discuss and identify the attributes of global corporations. So first, before we proceed, I'm going to discuss first what is global corporation. So it is a large company that operates in many different countries. So global corporation, also known as a global company, is coined from the base term global, which means all around the world. And it makes sense to assume that a global company is a company that does business all over the world. To be a global company, you need to introduce not only your products but also your company to people who live in another country. You need to conduct significant research to figure out which country is your best choice for expansion and how to introduce yourself. So the attributes of global corporation. Global corporations are typically large, multinational companies that have a great amount of control over the world. So, these organizations have the ability to make decisions about what happens in our society and economy. They can be thought of as existing separate from the rest of society, since they don't necessarily answer to anyone but themselves. There is no one person or group who has ultimate control over them. They are typically run by a board of directors that is comprised of various individuals. The members may have different interests, which means they may agree on certain decisions and how to go about running the organizations. This can lead to strife, backstabbing, or even lawsuits. So next is these organizations are motivated to make profit since that is what they exist for. They have a natural tendency towards expansion and growth. It may be argued that these entities have become too large and powerful. This is because they are in control of so much economic activity. They can cause havoc if they do not operate properly. They have the ability to bankrupt or destroy almost anyone who stands in their way. Lastly is global corporation are typically large multinational companies that have a great amount of control over the world. These organizations have the ability to make decisions about what happens in our society and economy. They can be thought of as existing separate from the rest of society since they don't necessarily answer to anyone but themselves. There is no one person or group who has ultimate control over them. And also, here are the examples of global corporations here in the Philippines.
The benefits of global corporation. The United States Small Business Administration points out that only 4% of global consumers reside in the US. This means that you stand to benefit in terms of sales revenue by expanding globally. There are also lots of other benefits to globalizing the corporation. You can increase your customer base. When you expand your business into another country, your customer base expands along with it. The market in the United States could be full of products just like yours. You may find, however, that this is not the case in another country that could present an expansion opportunity for your company. What's familiar to your consumers in the US could be fresh to consumers in another country. You can reduce your operating costs. If the manufacturing or labor costs are lower in another country, expanding to that country enables you to save on your operating costs. This can improve your bottom line. In fact, reducing operating costs are a key reason why many global companies expand. You don't need to be bogged down by seasonality. If you sell a seasonal product that experiences fluctuating sales at different times of the year. Then you can expand to countries that have seasons opposite to those in your base country, enabling you to have high sales figures all year. You can boost the growth rate of your company. If your company has been growing rapidly near locally, chances are that this growth may eventually stall because of market saturation. In that instance, you can expand to another country so you can maintain rapid growth. Next is you can create new jobs. Expanding into another country involves a lot, such as hiring representatives and employees of the company in the new country, as well as setting up office in various facilities and so on. You are likely to employ locals, and in the process, you will create new job opportunities in the country where you are expanding. This helps boost the local economy, and it also gives your company a good reputation. What are some characteristics of global corporations? Very high assets and turnover, network of branches, control, continued growth, sophisticated technology, high skills, forceful marketing and advertising, and good quality products.
Good day. So today we'll talk about the Bretton Woods system. So what is Bretton Woods system? The Bretton Woods Agreement was a 1944 meeting of the Allied Nations in which the nations agreed to peg their currency to the dollar while the dollar was pegged to gold. The agreement went into effect in 1958 but lasted less than 20 years. So the Bretton Woods Agreement established a system through which a fixed currency exchange rate could be created using gold as the universal standard. So the Bretton Woods system is a set of unified rules and policies that provide the framework necessary to create fixed international currency exchange rate. So how was Bretton Woods system created? So a new international monetary system was forged by delegates from 44 nations in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire in July 1944. Delegates to the conference agreed to establish the International Monetary Fund and what became the World Bank Group. So as mentioned above, 44 allied nations met in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire for the United Nations Monetary and Financial Conference. At that time, world economy was very shaky and the allied nations sought to meet to discuss and find a solution for the prevailing issue that plagued currency exchange. So they sought to create a system that would not only avoid the rigidity of previous international monetary system but would also address the lack of cooperation among the countries on those systems. The classic gold standard had been abandoned after the World War I. In the interwar period, governments not only undertook competitive devaluations but also set up restrictive trade policies that worsened the Great Depression. So the summit was also looking for policies and regulations would maximize the potential benefit and profit that could be derived from the global trading system. What resulted from the conference were Bretton Woods Agreement and Bretton Woods system. So the collapse of the Bretton Woods system. Backing currency by the gold standard started to become a serious problem throughout the late 1960s. By 1971, the issue was so bad that the US President Richard Nixon gave notifications that the ability to convert the dollar to gold was being suspended temporarily. The move was inevitable, the final straw for the system and the agreement that outlined it. So in 1971, the United States suffered from the massive stagflation, a combination of inflation and recession which causes the unemployment and low economic growth. So in response to a dangerous dip in value caused by too much currency in circulation, President Nixon started to deflate the dollar value in gold. Then Nixon evaluated dollar to 1/38 of an ounce of gold and then 1/42 of ounce. So the valuation plan backfired. It created a run on the US gold reserves at Fort Knox as people redeemed their quality devaluating dollar for gold. So in 1971, Nixon unhooked the value of the dollar from gold altogether. Without price controls, gold quickly shot up to $120 per ounce in the free market, ending the Bretton Woods system. So here are the benefits of the Bretton Woods system. So despite falling apart, the Bretton Woods Summit and Agreement are responsible for the number of notable importance aspects in the financial world. First and foremost is the creation of the IMF and the World Banks. Both institutions remain vital to the global economy to this day. So, on a larger scale, however, the agreement unified 44 nations from around the world, bringing them together to solve a growing global financial crisis. It helped to strengthen the overall world economy and maximize international trade profit. So, the Bretton Woods countries decided against giving the IMF power of the global central bank. Instead, they agreed to contribute to a fixed pool of national currency and gold to be held by the IMF. Each member country of the Bretton Woods system was entitled to borrow what it needed within the limits of contribution. So, the IMF was also responsible for enforcing the Bretton Woods Agreement. So, then the World Bank, despite its name, was not the world's central bank at the time of the Bretton Woods Agreement. The World Bank was set up to lend to the European countries devastated by the World War II. The purpose of the World Bank changed to loaning money to economic development projects in emerging market countries.